Today I am so blessed to have with me someone that has become a recent inspiration, and I'm just amazed at her story. It's called 9 Tears by Anna Mae Borden. Welcome today, Anna Mae.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And why don't you start off a little bit and tell us a little bit about the book? And we also want to let people know where they could find it.
Okay, maybe I'll start with that. If
Okay.
you go onto Google and you put in my name, Anna Mae Borden, and by 9 Tears or 9 Tears, either way, it'll pop up, and it tells you where to get it on Amazon and any bookstore, and it's right across the world, actually, everywhere.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, it's the publishers are doing a great job.
Your story was so touching and so raw. The images, the story itself is quite phenomenal that someone actually lived, survived. Why don't you tell us?
Okay, well, as the book starts off, and I'll try not to tell too much, but it started off with my mother, who was only 14 years old, coming from France and whatever, anyhow, and met with my father, ended up raped, and the first child started there. So it ended up there was 9 of us, and 3 of them were literally kicked out of her. They all died. But anyhow, so we survived, and then my mother got tired of the abuses and whatever, so she just took off and left us 9 children, abandoned us all. We were 3 days, 3 nights by ourselves, and we were found by the authorities. And finally, my father reappeared, and the end result with him is he took my 2 sisters, 1 older than me, 1 younger than me, and put them in with his friends, made sure they were safe, and took me and put me out in the woods with in an abandoned house. And so I was out there for 8 months, and he came out twice, one with my sisters and one alone, and never did come back.
How old were you?
I was 10, going on 11. And I used to go out in the woods, and I used to go into the farmer's fields and get vegetables and bring them home and get pieces of wood. And we had nothing. The babies had nothing. We were barefoot and diapers and terrible situation. Yes, well, there was no mother to teach me, and my mother didn't like me because at the age of 4, she sent me off to Winnipeg because I had an aunt who was a half-sister to my father who was quite dark-skinned, and I was the darkest child she had, and she told me I'd fit better with her. Sent me off to Winnipeg, and I was there for 3 years.
Nice.
So I didn't have many years with her. And when I was there, all she did was beat me, and all my
I
father
saw that
did
in the
was
book.
so all she did. She couldn't stand me. I was her black bee, and I won't say it on the mic. And she didn't like me because I suppose I reminded her of my father, who abused her. So
Yeah.
she took it all on me.
And it's kind of unique because this was in the 60s.
Yes,
Where
it was
one
less
black
than 60.
child with a whole bunch of biracial children, but you were predominantly looking more black.
Yeah.
And so you were black and they were white.
Right.
And what was that indifference like?
Well,
these were your brothers and sisters.
Well, the only thing that really bothered me is I wanted to be like my brothers and sisters.
Of course.
And I guess my father, in the end, he's the one that separated us more than my mother did, because he took my older sister and my younger sister and placed them with friends and left me out there in the abandoned house by myself. And so
I liked the cover because it has eyes, and the black and blue symbolizes the abuse, because your father did punch you so hard that he shattered almost your eye socket.
I had 17 stitches in this eye, and he broke my shoulder, he broke my back, he broke my neck. Well, when he broke my neck, it took about 3 years of therapy to get my head back up. So I walked around most of my teenage life with my head down on my shoulder, and I don't even remember when it got straight again, because it was so many years like that, you know.
Wow.
And then when he broke my back, I was in the hospital, and I used to walk all through high school and all my young life, hiding my face. People would talk to me, and I would be like this.
But you still continue to raise your brothers and sisters, because I read in the book that you helped educate yourself, but you educated them.
But they all 3 boys all went back and came to me and said, Anna Mae, I want to finish grade 11 because I want to be professional. So they all went back and did another 4 years of high school.
What inspired me and touched me the most was your courage to recount that and put it on paper for other people to see.
That was my point. And I say God's been there so much, because never entered my life. Never entered my mind to get a boyfriend, to go out, to go clubbing, to do things.
Yeah, I was like that
All
too.
I had to know, I knew, is those children had to be taken care of.
It just seems like I found this growing at a young age, that I found most of the men in my mom's and my grandmother's era, a lot of them were irresponsible.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was because they were forced to be adults at a young age, and they didn't actually see
Yeah.
our male role model
No, exactly.
in their lives. So it perpetrated
Yeah.
how they treated other people.
Right.
Because my dad was rough. But, you know, over the years, he softened because of the grandchildren. And it saw that it was
Yeah.
they had to learn a
Right.
different way.
Right.
And what I'm trying to say here is, you ended up taking care of the most abusive person in your life to his end days. What was that like?
Well, I took care of my mother too.
Yeah, and your mother.
I took care of my mother. She called me one day and she asked me, oh, her daughter. I say, you know,
She had
you'll
two
hear-
other children.
Oh, she had 5.
Oh,
You'll
shoot.
hear me say in the book, her kids and my kids, because somehow in her mind, she instilled that they were my kids. And I kept saying my kids, and sometimes I make a mistake and say my kids too. But however, her daughter, oldest one, called and said, Anna Mae, you better come get Mommy. She's sick now. I was never allowed in her home. She forbid me to go near her. So as it were, my brother, one of them, drove me down. I got her and I brought her and I took care of her for 2 years. I took her to Women's College Hospital here in Toronto. Where was I? In Toronto? Yeah, in Toronto. And diabetes, the whole bit. I kept her for about 2 years, and then finally she lost her weight. She did well. And then one day she just looked at me and she said, you know, Anna Mae, I want to go back to my own people. I had my father 35 years, and I kept his sister 25 years. And buried my aunt, and then I took care of my father. Oh, he was so bad. But I
Did he ever humble himself and ever once say, I'm sorry?
Well, I told him what he needed to do is to say sorry to the whole family. He told me he's not going to kiss nobody's feet, or he said another word. But anyhow, as it were, I kept them in my home, and I had 24 hours nursing. Thank God I was in business in those days, and God made it that I had a good business running in Toronto here. And so I was able to pay the nurses 24 hours around the clock, plus run the business at the same time.
Jeez, you
And
king.
yeah, and so anyhow, near the end, when the doctors told me he hadn't much time, so I went back up there, and he was laying in the bed. And no, they wouldn't let the nurses touch him. I had to do the bathing and take care of him like a baby. So I did, and I didn't mind. Truly, I didn't mind, because the social worker said to me, "How much more of your life are you going to give to this man after what he did to you?" And I said, "Till the day I die, I'll take care of my father." And I did. And when I knew he was going, I went up there and I sprawled my legs. I put him between my legs and I rocked him like a baby. And he was holding on to me and telling me he repented. And I mean, I was so mean to all of you. I beat this when I did this. Yes, you did, Dad. Yes, but you know something? God will forgive you. And then he stopped dead. And he said, and look what I did to you. I broke your back. Oh, and he screamed. He screamed. It was vicious how he broke me all up and everything. I said, Daddy, that's okay. I said, you know, my shoulder, my arm, my hand, nothing hurts me anymore. My arm was just going like a toothache. No, Daddy, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. And I was rocking him and patting him. I'm just fine. And he stopped and he looked at me. He said, are you really okay, Ann? Yes, Daddy, I'm fine. Don't worry. He said, well,
He was a good-looking man, too.
Yes. And he said, I don't want you to cry. I'm not. I was sobbing. I'm not crying, Daddy. Yes, you are, Ann. I said, okay. So I tried not to cry, and I was rocking him. And then with short time, he looked up at me, and he said, Ann, it's bye-bye time.
Wow.
And he died in my arms.
But, you know, looking back and seeing that, it reminds me of stories in the Bible. Like, someone in the family usually has to make that sacrifice for the family in order for the family to have that glue.
Right.
And I think that God chose you. Like he said, like Job, curse me and die.
So we're all very close, and all my sisters and brothers' children are all professional. All one's a scientist, lawyers, name it, they're it. And so we did well, considering there was no parents to guide us.
If you were to tell a woman who may be out there facing abuse, destitution, and just gave up on herself and about to give up on her family, what would that be?
Well, I often thought about it. If you had $1 million, what would you do? What would you like to do? And I thought about that myself. I've always wanted to have nursing homes, retirement homes, and last 16 years of my life was autistic children, and I flourish in that. And so those are the things I wanted to do if I had $1 million. Well, if you don't have $1 million, why can't you do it?
Amen.
Why can't you do it?
Amen. I like that.
So I did what I wanted to do. There's nothing to be sad about. At my little old 75 or 76 years old, I'm okay.
Yeah,
because
and looking beautiful.
Because everybody behind me is happy. My brothers and sisters are happy. My children are happy. I'm happy. I'm happy.
So we're going to wrap it up now because, and I'd like to thank you for stopping
thank you.
by.
It was just so wonderful. I really appreciate
this was Anna Mae Borden with her book, 9 Tears. You can get it at Amazon.
Amazon.
And to research Miss Borden, you can come to also Google, and you can see her bio and a trailer on the book.
Yes.
And
it'll tell you there where to buy the book. It's Amazon.net and all the bookstores. It's right
and
across
Prime
the world.
and all the
And
all
that's
of them. Diva D, you're listening to Ear Candy with your girl. We're gonna get back to the music, and I thank Anna Mae for stopping by.
And thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.